It. Welcome to Derry. Season 1 is out in full on HBO, 8 episodes around an hour each. This is a prequel series to the It movies based on the Stephen King novel. Andy Muschietti is back as showrunner, producer, and partly director. Bill Skarsgård is also back as Pennywise, otherwise it's a new cast. The show is planned for 3 seasons in total, each going further back in time. This one takes place in 1962. The second season is supposed to be 1935 and season 3 in 1908. So each season will cover a different wake cycle for the fear entity. In this opening season, the plot follows a group of kids who are trying to figure out why some of their friends went missing and killed and what's going on in the town. And meanwhile, the military is also here digging up in search of something related to it, using none other than Dick Halloran, the character from The Shining, as a sort of supernatural human radar. So I really liked the new It movies, especially the first one, but I think the second one was perhaps a bit unfairly maligned by people. I still enjoyed it for what it was. And so I was excited for this show, only to be let down quite significantly. I think it does some things well, others not so much. And ends up being mediocre overall. I will start with the good stuff. Bill Skarsgård is the highlight of the show. He's phenomenal as Pennywise, probably even better than in the movies. He really goes wild this time around. The script allows him to. Pennywise and It in general are more violent, dangerous, deranged. I like the violent death scenes. I like the inclusion of Dick Halloran, and Chris Chalk does a great job of playing the character. I also liked the subplot of the black soldiers establishing the black spot and the subsequent big thing happening in there in episode 7. However, I also think that the show didn't really have a great idea for the story, for the overarching story of the season, and as a result, the kids thing feels very much like a rehash, like a sort of greatest hits of what we've already seen in the movies, just worse. Because neither the writing nor the acting is as good here. And the adult storyline with the military starts interesting, but then becomes complete and utter nonsense. It's just dumb as bricks. Further, there's the subplot of the black soldiers and also the black projectionist being imprisoned for the crimes Pennywise commits, which could have led to, racism-driven horror subplots, which I think would have been very much in line with King's writing in general, but in it especially, which is that he examines how the big, grand evil that lurks in the shadows works through everyday acts of malice and hate, through fueling that in regular people. But sadly, that feels very much undercooked and underdeveloped. I mean, compared to things we've seen in Watchmen or Lovecraft County, this was just really disappointing, both on the racism front and also on the front of not having that feeling that something is wrong with even just the regular people in town, that there isn't that sense of things getting progressively worse and the atmosphere getting denser. I think that some characters have obvious plot armor, which was a bit sad considering the show starts off very bold in that regard. Essentially, it introduces a bunch of characters in episode 1 and kills most of them by the end of the hour. I think it underplays I think I mentioned that before, but underplays the casual evil of the townsfolk. I think the CGI, of which there is definitely way too much, is pretty awful. The worst offenders being the cemetery sequence in episode 2. That looked dog shit, and the entirety of the last episode, which was just bafflingly stupid. I mean, the logistics and the execution and the visuals, which is quite embarrassing. So all in all, there are individual things to like here, but on the whole, it feels like the show doesn't really commit to anything of substance, except for Pennywise being his crazy self, which is cool, obviously, but is it enough? Not for me personally.